Hey, what's up traders? Welcome to Monday. We are back in the charts and unfortunately we just got stopped out, but I'm going to go over what was going on, what my thought process was for the day and what led us here. Because again, my analysis is pretty decent, but my execution just seems to really need a little bit of work. So I am heavily dialing in right now and trying to get a read on what is going on and what I'm going to do about it. Sorry, I got that AirPod in. I was listening to some stuff. So anyways, last night before I went to bed, I'm like, all right, we're kind of ranging and consolidating. Let's go to the 1 hour so I can give you a little bit better of a view of it. So I'm like, okay, we're kind of breaking out of this channel, but we came down. We're not sure quite if we're going to, I don't know if we're going to stay in this or what. I think it's fair to say we could even draw this, and now we're creating another channel, a secondary channel potentially, and then continue up. But basically, I'm like, we're ranging right here, we're consolidating. I drew these levels of interest right here, these purple boxes where we've rejected a few times, a handful of times actually, and just kind of like, okay, this is the range that we're looking at. Well, we broke out of it this morning. So before I went to bed, I was like, all right, we're range consolidating, and I kind of moved it over here. But when I went to bed, it was more around this time. It was around 12:31. So I was sitting here like, all right, no real directional movement yet. Don't really know if I want to trade this. We're very clearly in this choppy up channel, but like I said, this was just created last night where we have this touch, come down again. We have this secondary touch at New York Open. We kind of go both ways, do a little spinning top. And my overall thought process today was I'm looking for an entry, but I'm also nervous because we're overextended. VWAP is kind of right here. I'm really waiting for a change of character to the downside because you could see this morning I basically would have missed it. And this would have been a decent spot to get in, but a lot of volatility. And the reason that I didn't get in is because we had news this morning at 9 a.m., ISM services, which could have made it pretty volatile. Here's what it is if you want to look at it, Institute for Supply Management. So all in all, pretty flat line, about the same. Didn't do a lot, but it did cause some volatility in the market. So we go ahead and do away with that. Then it says we have FOM member, Waller speaks. Well, I tried to hop on. I didn't see him speaking or anything anywhere, so I'm not really sure what that was, but that made me pretty hesitant. 9 and 10 o'clock this morning, I was like, I don't really know if I want to be trading too much. So I'm sitting here, I'm waiting. We break out of this little trend line that we have going on that we've created, which I kind of modified a couple times. So take that with a grain of salt for what you will. But our previous day high is up here. So I'm like, all right, I'm a little bit interested in this zone. So here's what my thought process was. We broke out of this trend line right here and we kind of struggled. So we kind of struggled to come down, and then I saw we engulfed right here in this candle. I got a little bit of a late entry, and that's honestly probably what took me out. But at the same time, this fair value gap right here is drawn in, so it got filled obviously, but I drew it back. These other ones have not been filled yet. So my idea was, okay, we could come back down right here, and then we respected it, and then we kind of pushed up with an engulfing candle. So I was a little bit late to the entry, but I'm only risking one MES right now on this trade. So my idea was I'm going to kind of get in on this engulfing candle. Like you can see, switching over, I had a little bit of a late entry. So I'm just trading on my phone this morning, kind of managing. My AC went out of my house, so we had the HVAC dude come over. Just been dealing with a lot of that stuff. So wasn't in the best setup, I'll admit that. And I have my MacBook up here for streaming and stuff, and I've been trying to kind of make the setup a little bit nicer and a little bit more efficient and things like that. So anyways, I get in right here. I set my stop loss underneath structure. I'm only risking $30 at this point to make about 60 to maybe 100. 60 up in this range, 100 up in this range is kind of what I'm thinking, and we'll see what happens at this previous day high. So I come here, you can see I'm locked out for the day. I'm down $33, and that's just really what it is. We can take a look at the performance stats real quick, kind of see I'm at a 50% win rate, my curve. Thursday, but yeah, whatever, dude. Thursdays are challenging. Kind of do what you want. And this is what we're looking at. And yeah, it just kind of is what it is, man. I'm a little bit all over the place trying to figure out this strategy and this execution. So right now I'm kind of thinking that 2 MES would be a little bit better for what I'm trying to do. But we're just going to take some time and see. My execution right now has to get dialed in, man. It just has to. And I'm coming up with a new strategy. I wrote it down. It's called the BSR. So I'm just going to read this to you. And I didn't wait for it today, unfortunately. And this is where I'm really going to struggle, but I want to be fully transparent on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and the reasoning. So I just went ahead and pulled this up. So it's called the BSR model, break, shift, return. And here's what it is. All right, so on the 5-minute, we've got a little bit of a trend line going on here, okay? You can see the change of character. You can see the displacement. So the trend line breaks, clear. Okay, got that. Then we've got change of character / market structure shift. All right, cool, got that. And in this instance, we're coming up testing VWAP, coming back down to test this fair value gap right here. Okay, so a fair value gap is created because of the displacement. So there has to be a displacement coming up out of this zone for it to return back down to the fair value gap. So this is where we would enter and react, our stop beyond the structure. So we would put our stop right down below here. Some people might put it under the fair value gap where the inefficiency is. I think that I'm going to do right here where the low is. And then we're going to target liquidity. So wherever that is to you, maybe it's up here, maybe it's up here, maybe it's up here, maybe it's up here. I would be targeting the liquidity up here. So there's no trade if there's no trend. There's no trade if there's no structure shift. There's no trade if there's no displacement. There's no clean fair value gap return. The stop is not protected. The target is too close. And then basically the mantra for it is, I only hunt the break, shift, return. Everything else is noise. Now, clearly that's not 100% what I did today. So I'm going to go ahead and head back over here for a minute, pull this up, and you can see even when we came up here and we hit, take profit 1 or in that zone, we basically would have just been covering, and then we're going to see if this holds and continues on. But we're already at a freaking interest point here whenever it comes to the previous day high. So I'm really thinking, I don't like sitting here staring at charts all day, and I really don't. Like, it's not something that I enjoy. So I think I'm going to mark my levels. This is off now. I think I'm going to mark my levels, and then I'm going to set alerts to come back to or something like that. But this is kind of what I'm dialing in on today. This is kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see how it goes. I'm doing a little bit of experimenting right now to get my execution dialed in, because I feel like my overall analysis and my market structure read is pretty decent, even though we're kind of trying to figure out what we're doing here. We're at this, if we're not going to make a new high, we might come back down for a little bit, and then we might be in a weird consolidation and just kind of ranging on the higher time frame. So the market might not 100% know what it's going to do. I might be looking at changing this. Oh, and this is that trade from yesterday, just to show you the one that we just pulled up. So I took it all off, but let's say we're coming down here, and then we're doing this little action right here. So you can see we broke out, we came down and retested, and this would have been the trade. So depending on what you were targeting, we'll say our entry point was at the start of that fair value gap, right underneath, and we'll say we were just going, you could have went for a 1 to 3, you could have held on to this morning and went for probably a 1 to 5 here. Yeah, you could have hit a 1 to 5 on that and had a nice little return on that, targeting that previous day. But keep in mind, you're in the middle of the range here for the previous day high and the previous day low. So take that for what it is, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. And honestly, even looking at this, I might just, like right now in real time looking at this, I might just make my 5 minute, like how I get into these trades, because if I'm being real with you guys, even looking over here, like let's check this out for a minute. And I need to do some back testing if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But I don't really back test or spend much time, and I think that could really be beneficial to my game. So say this trend line right here, we get this change of character, we come back down, we retest, and then we do the same thing. So we'll say that we're, oh wow, that's not what oh my gosh, oh my, get out of here. That's crazy. Not sure what the heck just happened there. That was friggin' gnarly. I'm going to be making mine, I think, at the touch. I know some people make theirs the midpoint. Maybe I'll do that. Like I said, this is an experimentation. So, we could have, I don't know if I would have even targeted. That's the problem. Like with that, you would have been holding this for a while. Oh, what time is this? This is entirely the end of the day, man. So that's the other thing. I'm not going to take this trade at the end of the day at 2:05 p.m. in a power hour. My liquidity I would be targeting was like right there. So maybe we could have went for a 1-to-1 before the market closed and it shut me out. And this is one of the things that's nice about Redline when you're in a funded account. So I got a little bit of experiment to do. I got a little bit of figuring out to do and things like that. We'll just kind of see. I'm just kind of browsing to see. Not a lot of setups come into this, So, on the downside right here, there's enough of them to keep you in the game, and maybe that's kind of the point. We could have came up here. We could have had this little bit of a trend line that we would have been respecting. We would have started here. I would have said and probably left it there and maybe adjusted over into here if you wanted, but I think that leaving it right there makes more sense. So you kind of have this break of structure, you're paying attention, you get this change of character, and then on this change of character, you get quite a bit. I mean, you'd have to be acting quick on this one, you know what I mean? Because we'll say that we came up in here. It's kind of an interesting displacement zone. I bet you it looks a little different. We'll say the midpoint right here. We'll set it above the highs, and we'll go to target at 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, or 1 to 4, 1 to 5. And this is the thing. But see, again, 2:30 in the freaking afternoon, 2:45 in the afternoon, I'm not taking that trade. There's just no way that I'm taking that trade that makes sense to me. So I'm really going to have to pay attention to this, see if this is going to fit my strategy that I'm trying to develop and how I'm trying to read market structure. And we'll just kind of go from there. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is just kind of my thoughts on what I have going on. Maybe this punches up a little bit higher. This is a super late entry. I really shouldn't have even been messing with this. A little bit of FOMO, a little bit of like, oh, I got to take a trade for the day. But I am proud of myself for scaling down and only risking that $30. But at the same time, I'm not going to pass any accounts this way. You know, long term, I'm going to be doing this forever. But I think that's okay as well, because when I dial in my strategy and I build this system and it's systematic and I don't have to think about it, I'm just hunting. Because that was my main thing last night. I'm like, I need something to start hunting. You know, I need something to like start looking out for. And even this morning, we would have had a similar move, I would say, even though the trend line is not as strong. If we're on the 5 minute here, my bad, I right click too. If we're on the 5 minute, we have this really, I mean, take that for what you guys want, or if you want to call this a trend or something like that. I mean, I guess you could technically, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. This is kind of getting a little bit of a gray area for drawing up this trend. The chart's looking a little messy. Apologies for that. But so we're coming down into this zone right here, and then we have this breakout, this change of character, this displacement that's created. We come down, we wick, but maybe I need to figure out how far under structure I'm trying to be, because like say here, say we would have filled at the entry like we have been, like I think I need to stop coming up so low, and I think I need to give it just a little bit of breathing room, something like that. And then we could have targeted even, you know, like right here, a 1 to 3 and still had a nice little trade. So I don't know if I want to do 1 to 1s, 1 to 2s, 1 to 3s. I feel like 1 to 3s would statistically allow me to not be as good. They might take longer to fill out, but even let's see. So if I would have gotten in this trade last night when I was going to bed, and I was just like, oh, let's see what happens, and then been okay with holding it this entire time, there wouldn't have really been any trade management that I think would have been clean until we got over here. And even then, you might be cutting yourself short because you don't know if your strategy is going to play out. So right now I'm in the nitty and gritty of figuring out my strategy. I feel like I have a pretty good read on market analysis with MES, and I'm sticking with MES right now. I still have to experiment with my contract sizes a little bit more, and I have some things to figure out for sure. If you have any tips, if you have any recommendations, if you trade similar to this or anything like that, man, I would love feedback. I would love any constructive criticism or anything. I feel like I'm getting closer and closer. I will tell you that I think that this is a very frustrating process that I'm trying to go through, and this part is very analytical. So I need to be taking better screenshots of things like this to see how they play out and my entries. So I'm going to leave this. I'll come back up hopefully tonight, just take a screenshot and at least start having a photo dump place. Because I still think that this could come up and play and come into some new areas. I mean, we're overall respecting, even though we're kind of chopping around to get there. So I appreciate you guys being here, man. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to get this figured out eventually. And yeah, we'll just go from there. My ladder system needs a little work. It's a little bit off because I've changed from the 721. But hey, man, I wish you guys the best. I hope that you guys are doing well on your trading journey, and you know, just stay locked in and don't give up, and keep going and just keep showing up every day to be 1% better. And eventually I think that you'll find yourself in a position that you want to be. Ciao.